Lord Abortion has entered the request queue. Whenever it's a username like that, I'm always a little worried, so I'm just going to really say, watch the TOS, and I am going to boot you if you're not a Trump supporter. I don't really know what the username suggests about that, so I'll accept him into the call, and I'll first ask first things first, always, how old are you?
How you doing? I'm 32.
I believe you. Are you pro-Trump?
Oh, absolutely.
Why?
Well, frankly, I'm pro-America, man.
Yeah, I think that Trump is doing some seriously anti-American things, specifically by violating the Constitution so flagrantly and consistently as he is and does.
Right. So I want to have a conversation. If you weren't voting for Trump, who would you support? Who would you want?
In what? I mean, what do you mean? He can't run again.
As your president.
Like right now? Who should I think that should be the president today? What do you mean? Are you talking about an election?
Yeah. Exactly. Yes, exactly. That's how it works.
Well, I'm not excited about J.D. Vance being the president. He is next in line, and I think that we should follow the rules and impeach Trump for the many impeachable things that he did, and that would make J.D. Vance the president. Which, I would not be excited about, but I think it's important that we set the political precedent that if you do the sorts of things that Trump does, you get impeached. That way, then if J.D. Vance went and did those things, he would also get impeached. So I would hope that he would then become president and not do those things.
Right, but I'm talking about not anybody in the conservative landscape. I'm talking about who you would want personally.
Oh, just like, if I could just like pick a guy and make him president, like
you could just pick anybody.
Oh, Kelly.
Yeah.
Kelly, the lawmaker from Arizona, the ex-astronaut, him.
Oh, really?
Yeah, somebody asked me a while back who I was excited about for like a next Democratic candidate, and I like didn't have a good answer, and I like it caused me to really reflect on it because I listed some names. There's some contenders, but I really am in a pretty undecided position. But there's a couple things I really like about Kelly, and forgive me for always mixing it up because I'm a NASA fan, and he and his brother. It's Mark Kelly, right? I always mix up Scott and Mark because they're literally identical twins. One of them stayed an astronaut and the other became a politician. One of them went to space and the other stayed on Earth as a twin study. And there's something really wonderful about servicemen and astronauts for Democratic candidates, which is that they fulfill a lot of the character qualities that Republicans seek in a candidate. And I think that they have demonstrated, like, being an astronaut is like harder than being the president. Like, you need to be more sound of mind to be an astronaut.
I agree with that.
Yeah. So just in terms of somebody having a good head on their shoulder, politics aside, I think somebody with a service record who's been an astronaut is just an outstandingly qualified choice. He's not too old. I hate to say this next thing, but I am going to say it. He's a white dude. And we've biffed it on some elections where we run into electability issues with our candidate not being a white dude. I don't think women are unqualified. I think Kamala Harris was a perfectly qualified candidate. I think Hillary Clinton, as much as I don't like her at all, very qualified candidate for her political history. I think we're in a situation right now where it's no surprise that the only person who's been able to defeat Trump is like an old white dude. So Kelly fits that bill. Maybe give him a more progressive running mate. But then also, in addition to everything that I just said, Kelly has really not minced words on the sorts of things that I feel about Trump, including the fact that Trump belongs in prison for a lot of the things that he's doing. Kelly himself is one of the lawmakers that Trump called for the executions of for reminding service members to obey their oath and disobey unlawful orders, which it specifically says for them to do in their oath. So there's my little spiel about Kelly. I think Kelly would be a fantastic pick.
Right. Okay, so you voted for Kamala?
I did vote for Kamala.
So you want progressive things in policy?
Yes, I'm a progressive liberal person. Yes, I think that those things are good. People good for America.
What state do you live in?
I live in.
Do you live in a progressive state?
I live in Minneapolis.
Oh, well, that's all you had to say, brother.
Is it? I mean,
oh, Jesus.
Oh, yeah.
I'm sure if I told you I'm from Florida, I'm sure you'd be like, oh, that's all you had to say.
No, I don't judge where people are from. That would be I wouldn't be very good at doing this live thing if that's like, oh, you're from Florida, like W host. No, dude, I don't care where you're from.
There's
plenty of liberal people in Florida
too.
Yeah,
but they're different. Yeah,
exactly. There's plenty of conservatives here.
They don't protest on the roads.
Minnesota as a state is pretty close to 50-50. We're like a 49-51 purple state. We're a little worried every presidential election that we're going to flip the other way. But yeah. So like, what's your point?
Well, my point is, I'm sure you have conservatives up there, correct? And they're not the same as a regular conservative in a red state. I would say they're a little more tame when it comes to
No, you don't have to, you don't have to drive far from the metro area to walk into a grocery store where you will be called the N-word if you're black. We have some serious we have some seriously backwards, like racist hick towns where you might as well be in Texas. Much of rural Minnesota is very, very red.
Really?
I travel.
So where are you guys a red state, man?
Literally everywhere except for the metro area and Duluth and Rochester and St. Cloud are like big.
Your voting district jacked up?
Not as jacked in other states because our state leadership is mostly blue, or is like, majority blue, so we don't have like as terrible gerrymandering, if that's what you're asking about. Where are we going with this? You're kind of just interrogating me about Minnesota
politics.
I'm just
having a conversation. We don't have to always just bash Trump. I like to talk to people who are on the other side and just get their perspectives on things.
Yeah,
what do you think about the fraud that happened in your state? Like,
I think that when you have an immigrant population, like a large immigrant population that has like picked a place as like an area where they can have community, one of the problems you run into is that people will find particular grifts to abuse the social programs that are available to them. So the fraud is bad. It should be investigated thoroughly. And our state leadership was actually working pretty fastidiously to ramp up the enforcement on that sort of thing before Nick Shirley even came and made his video. Operation Metro Surge did not catch any fraudsters, so I'm pretty disappointed that the excuse that they used to come terrorize us for a couple of months didn't actually result in them accomplishing the goals that they said that they were doing it for. But yeah, fraud is bad. Like everybody who's defrauded the welfare system should go to jail for it.
So you don't blame your governor or any people who had oversight on top of that?
I mean,
for allowing that to happen, to escalate the way that it did over the past 10 years.
I really push back when people say that a lawmaker allowed something to happen simply because it did happen. Do you think that Tim Walz was given, hey, there's a bunch of daycare fraud happening, do you want to allow this to continue? And he said, oh, sure, love daycare fraud. Or do you think he said, oh, no,
well, I'm pretty sure.
What he did is create a committee to investigate daycare fraud.
And the committee and the people who were in charge of it, correct, told them, look, we have red flags here. There's a little bit too much money going to this specific building. There's a little too much money going to these specific sources. This doesn't seem natural, and somebody waved it off, correct? Have you looked into that? Into the hearings with Tim Walz?
Who are you saying waved it off? You can find Tim Walz talking about this like before Nick Shirley made his video.
It's the person in charge of that assembly.
It's possible that someone in a position of power, somewhere along the way, let it slide that this fraud was happening. And if that person did that, they're an accomplice to this crime, and they should go to jail for it. What's your point?
I'm just having a conversation with you, man. That's all.
Okay, I guess my big point,
and people are like, "Oh, he's." I guess my big point is
why are you so mad about the governor of the state I live in failing to stop this fraud? Which I will admit he did. He didn't succeed in stopping it as quickly as everybody would like him to. It's still an ongoing problem that's being investigated. Why are you so upset about that when the actual president, the person that the whole live is about discussing, is somebody who literally has 34 felony counts for a type of, guess what, fraud?
Oh, well, what crime was he intended to do? What was he supposed to do? You understand, those felonies only come if there is an intention of crime. If there is a crime that was going to be committed.
It became a felony because it's a felony to defraud people of their money by lying about your business assets in order to get a larger loan. That's a felony. So falsifying the documents
it's a felony if there's a crime intended to happen on top of the fraud.
Right. So falsifying a business document is a misdemeanor. It becomes a felony if you do it in furtherance of a crime. Like, for example, the reason I falsified this document is to expand, say, the square footage of this property so that the bank will give me a bigger loan against the property. The getting the loan fraudulently is the crime that falsified document is in furtherance of, so that makes it a felony. And he did that 34 times, as the court found. Probably more than that, but that's the number of times he was convicted. So again...
Yeah, but you understand, he himself didn't greenlight that. He had a representative do all of that,
yes,
correct?
Yes, he did. He was convicted of doing it. He was convicted of it 34 times. If your burden of proof is saying that he must not have done any one of those 34 convicted felonies that he has, then you're really missing, you're really just like refusing to open your eyes and listen. But I really want just you to answer the question. Why are you attacking my governor, Tim Walz, for failing to stop fraud when your President Trump, who you called into a show to discuss, is literally a many-time convicted fraudster? Dozens of convictions for felony crimes associated with fraud, in furtherance of fraud.
Right. Well, what fraud exactly are you talking about?
I just explained
Are you
it.
talking about all of them, all the 34 felonies? So you really take those seriously?
But I gave an example of like one of them is that he expanded the square footage of properties that he owned in order to get larger bank loans. Like not all of them were for exactly the same thing, but it was that type of stuff. Yeah, some of them were to do with the hush money payments for the corn star that he was cheating on his wife with. Like there's like a couple of different things in there, but like yeah. It's all these are, falsifying business documents in furtherance of financial crimes is a type of fraud.
So, okay. What crime was going to be committed, though? Okay, you're saying yes.
I will explain it one more time. I will explain my example one more time. But I'm worried about boring the chat, so I'm not going to keep explaining it in circles for you. But let's say I go to the bank. Let's say I go to. I'm going to explain it like I'm going to pretend you're a little younger than you are and explain it a little more slowly and a little bit more clearly. If I wanted to get a bank loan and I went to the bank and said, "Hey, I have this property. Can I get a loan using this property as collateral?" And the bank said, "We'll give you $100,000 because we see that the property is worth $100,000." And I go, "Oh, that's not enough. I want more. I want a $200,000 loan." So I falsify some documents that make the property look bigger so that when the bank looks at it, they go, "Oh, how many floors does it have? How much square footage? How much rentable space? Oh yeah, we'll give you a loan for $200,000. So there's two crimes being committed here. One is defrauding the bank by asking for a bigger loan than I'm entitled to with my collateral. And the smaller crime that would otherwise on its own be a misdemeanor that I committed in furtherance of that crime is falsifying the documents about the property. By itself, falsifying some documents about a property, only a misdemeanor. Using them to trick the bank into giving you more money, now it's a felony. And that's why the 34 counts were felonies. Why are you okay with that?
That would apply if the bank didn't do their own investigation and they concluded, this is
there was an investigation,
right,
which is why he was convicted of 34 felonies.
No, the bank themselves said it's not a big deal. We want to continue business, correct?
Dude, he was convicted of 34 felonies. There was an investigation. He was
convicted even after the bank said.
You're telling me there wasn't an investigation when he was convicted 34 times, dude? Like, you look ridiculous right now.
Because New York still prosecuted him. Are you serious? You can look up the testimony. The bank representative himself said, yes.
No.
We looked into it ourselves. We concluded that, in fact, this is not right. The size that they gave us is not correct.
If he wasn't convicted and we were arguing about me thinking that he did these crimes and it hadn't gone through the court system, yeah, we could sit and talk about what the bank says. But he was convicted 34 times.
Oh, Jesus Christ,
that is more evidence than you saying that whatever you're saying about the bank, which, by the way, I'd want a source for because I have no idea what you're talking about.
You should. Because if the bank themselves are saying, we looked into it, the numbers are wrong, they didn't, in fact, give us a number that was not correct. Right? And then they themselves say, we wanted to continue doing business, and it was not a big fucking deal. Then why was he convicted? Because of the fucking... Where was he convicted again?
In New York.
Where was he?
Yeah, New York. Yeah. Which happens to be where he did most of his business.
Oh my God.
Oh yeah, New York. Like again,
Jesus Christ, man.
Do you just
this is why
discredit any court case that comes from a blue state?
Frankly, yeah, I do.
Okay.
Because you guys are all a bunch of fucking woke retards who just want to go against
and he gets banned for using a slur. Goodbye. That was a fun one. Okay. Man, I hate it when people trip over the slur landmine because I'd actually give that guy a few more minutes to make himself look bad, but R word, dude. Not allowed to say it on TikTok. Anyway.